Folks, this is my final principle to share with you for now. I have to step aside for a short personal sabbatical and will not be renewing my VoiceAmerica.com contract for the upcoming season. We have completed the series Nurturing Your Inner Being, and DeLee will be moving ahead with her new series on Essence of Authentic Presence. Please continue to tune in to Mighty Spectrums for DeLee's powerful words of wisdom, inspiration, and enchanting guests. I have appreciated your sincere and enthusiastic support. Before I go into this last principle of this series, I want to say something about ageless wisdom. Ageless wisdom and New Age are not the same thing. How can they be when they speak of each other's opposite? Ageless means it has been and will be around forever, while New Age means like a new birth. They cancel each other out in adjectives alone. So be sure to educate yourself on just what is New Age, which its meaning has been distorted beyond recognition and which the uneducated leap and grasp at its distorted meaning to assign it to ageless wisdom, and therefore much is lost in both causes. Contemplate those words, ageless wisdom, and realize they are exactly that, ageless wisdom to live by for that blissful life you only occasionally glimpse, principles set into play at creation and living still. Ageless wisdom, the teaching of wisdom, is not a textbook with numbered pages. The teaching is the decree of life applied to each necessity. As lightning flashes wherever sufficient electricity has accumulated, so the commanded principle from ageless wisdom speeds to where possibilities have gathered. While confirming the common unity, the teaching of wisdom, the principles, must respond to individuality and provide a solution to the daily problems. Embracing the principles is a choice, not a commandment, and only comes alive to those who put it into practice. Until that time, expect the same thing to happen day after day and lifetime after lifetime as you keep doing what you've always been doing. It is, after all, your free will. I am sharing today on the principle of preparation for the day of declaration as taught by the ageless wisdom. The teaching claims no man is ever put into circumstances which are insurmountable once he has reached the point where he has intelligently put himself on the side of evolution or of God. Prior to that, he may and will be driven by gales of circumstance. The press of group and racial karma will force him into situations necessary for the process of awakening him to his own innate possibilities. Once he becomes the conscious builder himself, seeking to control the forces and builders of his lower nature, and to construct the temple of Solomon, that is, his higher nature, then he is no longer subject to the earlier conditions. He becomes a ruler, a builder, and a transmitter until the time comes when he is one with the solar angels and the work of human evolution is accomplished. Ageless wisdom teaches there is a higher spiritual order, a hierarchy for humanity, kept well hidden for ages of ages by rulers and those who would control and persecute others to their own profitable benefit. The first step taken toward that goal in this age was, of course, the desecration of the Holy Bible, strategically separating divine documentation of those valuable principles meant for all, hiding from full view and access those beloved directives meant to the freedom of mankind. It can be denied, it can be argued, and it can be ignored, but like gravity, it cannot be rendered impotent. The hierarchy intention is to set an example to humanity. This hierarchy is composed of those who have triumphed over matter and who have achieved the goal by the very self-same steps that individuals tread today. These spiritual personalities, these adepts and masters, have wrestled and fought for victory and mastery upon the physical plane and struggled with the miasmas, the fogs, the dangers, the troubles, the sorrows and pains of everyday living. They have trodden every step of the path of suffering, have undergone every experience, have surmounted every difficulty, and have won out. Their apprehension of the freedom that comes through the sacrifice of the form by the medium of the purificatory fires suffices to give them a firm hand, an ability to persist even when the form may seem to have undergone a sufficiency of suffering, and a love that triumphs over all setbacks, for it is founded on patience and experience. So you will understand the importance and validity of the evolutionary path and those who have gone before us. Indeed, even those beloved disciples from this outgoing age who still walk among us. There is briefly a list for your delight and encouragement in this text on my website, amritanicolemarketing.com. Those of you who are familiar with the Holy Bible, of that which was left us, will undoubtedly sense a leap of your spirit as your soul recognizes the truth of these incarnated souls as they fit in to the pieces within our beloved Bible stories. It is encouraging to discover these enlightened and intelligent persons walked the earth before us many times and didn't simply get sloughed off the earth at death, like the dead cells from our body, but stayed on out of great love to assist in our own soul progression. There is a link in this text also for more on the Masters, the beloved disciples of Jesus the Christ, and their valuable writings. These elder brothers of humanity are characterized by a love which endures and which acts ever for the good of the group, by a knowledge which has been gained through a millennia of lives in which they have worked their way from the bottom of life and of evolution well nigh to the top, by an experience which is based on time itself and a multiplicity of personality reactions and interactions, by a courage which is a result of that experience, and which, having itself been produced by ages of endeavor, failure, and renewed endeavor, and having in the long run led to triumph, can now be placed at the service of the race, by a purpose which is enlightened and intelligent, and which is cooperative, adjusting itself to the group and hierarchical plan, and thus fitting in with the purpose of God's plan. The hierarchy also prepares the way for the day of declaration. Concerned and loyal disciples, let me remind you of the power of our individual and corporate efforts through the great invocation to the perfectment of the coming day of declaration, the reappearance of the Christ. Alice Bailey states of us, "You are in process of incarnation. You are following your chosen way. Is the house you are building yet lit? Is it a lighted house, or is it a dark prison? If it is a lighted house, you will attract to its light and warmth all those around you, and the magnetic pull of your soul, whose nature is light and love, will save many. If you are still an isolated soul, you will have to pass through the horrors of a more complete isolation and loneliness, treading alone in the dark way of the soul. Yet this isolation, this loneliness, and this separation in the dark night are all part of the great illusion. It is, however, an illusion into which the whole of humanity is now precipitated in preparation for unity, freedom, and release. For we know it is always darkest before the dawn. Some are lost in their illusion and know not what is reality and truth. Others walk free in the world of illusion for the purposes of saving and lifting their brothers, and if you cannot do this, you will have to learn so to walk. There is a day of declaration coming, that call to action, in which the expected teacher will make himself known and visible to all mankind above the age of 14. He has been expected for generations by all of the major religions. Christians know him as the Christ and expect his imminent return. Jews await him as the Messiah. Hindus look for the coming of Krishna. Buddhists expect him as Maitreya Buddha, and Muslims anticipate the Imam Mahdi or Messiah. Such a divine one is presented to mankind at the changing of every new age to assist in the transition. Although the names are different, many believe that they all refer to the same individual, the world teacher, whose personal name is Maitreya, just as the personal name of the world teacher in the outgoing age was Jesus, and in which Maitreya was his avatar throughout his journey. Preferring to be known simply as the teacher, the coming Christ, Maitreya, does not come as a religious leader or to found a new religion, but as a teacher and guide for people of every religion and those of no religion. At this time of great political, economic, and social crisis, the coming Christ will inspire humanity to see itself as one family and create a civilization based on sharing, economic, social justice, and global cooperation. Very soon now he will appear on television in this country of the USA and later in Japan and then around the world and speak very simply so everyone can understand him. And when he talks, you know it is true. He speaks directly from the heart to the heart, and that energy which comes from being the embodiment of love awakens that love in your heart, and you believe what he says because you know it is true. The television networks will be linked together for this event, and all eyes will see him, as it says in the Bible. You will see his face, you will feel that energy, you will say, only the Christ could fill my heart with that love. He will launch a call to action to save the millions of people who starve to death every year in a world of plenty. Among his recommendations will be a shift in social priorities so that adequate food, housing, clothing, education, and medical care become universal rights. Under his inspiration, humanity itself will make the required changes and create a more sane and just world for all. As the day of declaration draws ever closer, we must strive ever more valiantly to assist in the success of its intention. A mantram, a powerful prayer, the great invocation, can not only be recited quietly or orally once a day, but stepped up to as often as we are able throughout the day. In the practice of the invocation, focus intently on its words, remembering in assured confidence the power of thought and the spoken word. As well, keep always in mind the energy sent out joining the cosmic forces and subtle world powers. For every thought and word said goes out into the manifesting substance of the universe, into infinity, and returns accordingly. For the reason of omnipresent manifesting energy, all thoughts and words must be carefully weighed, their goal assessed, and their motive pure. The energy of thought is for the good of all and to the furtherance of God's plan. Through speech, a thought is evoked and becomes present. It is brought out of abstraction and out of a nebulous condition and materialized upon the physical plane, producing, could we but see it, something very definite on etheric levels. The so-called fourth dimension is a property of psychic energy. The properties of psychic energy will make possible the broadening of all understanding. The elements are spatial substance, imponderable and immeasurable, semi-amorphous crystals in the aspect of the so-called elemental manifestations. The essence of the unmanifested spirit permeated the substance of space. The spheres of the elements are of dazzling beauty, and besmirching them is like destroying a wonderful flower. I feel that the teaching of pure thoughts will permeate into people's consciousness. The sower of thought gathers the harvest. Therefore, with the Mother of the world, which Christian Orthodox call the Holy Spirit, all-seeing cooperation is unavoidable. The state of substance of this space, pierced by the combinations of new rays, energies, permits the beginning of the new era. All good should be gathered. The consciousness of space permeates the brain substance. This process cannot be demonstrated, it cannot be measured. Believe that the words we speak and the thoughts we think are carried upon those permeating crystals, the manifesting substance akasa, as abruptly as a match to kerosene, instantly pervading all infinity. Recognize the power, therefore, of united mantrams, prayers of power, and of the transmission meditation, the great invocation, as it pours through every entity in existence and every living soul, preparing their minds to the intention of the day of declaration. Be confident of this. The power wielded by those who are seeking to live as souls and in touch with the soul and the world of spiritual realities is out of all proportion to their registered sense of power and usefulness. You are, as you endeavor to wield spiritual force constructively and selflessly, far more potent than you realize. If this spirit within you has been tingling with delight as you have been hearing this information, if you hunger and thirst like never before to know more about God, the hierarchy, principles, and serving humanity, then it stands to reason your soul has been tapped for its evolution. Your podvig has come to full light in your mind, and nothing can hold you back from pressing on to the satiation of your soul. There is a time set karmically for each soul on earth to be tapped as such. Be aware the path is wrought with pain as the earthly thoughts and habits are put to death, replaced by the loyal striving to obey such a loyal and knowledgeable soul, rooted to the omniscience of gods. Yet be encouraged. The straight knowledge of what the sincere student will be taught and shown through inspiration from the hierarchy and guided to those teachers along the path, infill that student with an unfathomable and indefatigable joy. There will come, finally, the realization of the glamour and illusion of this earthly existence as having no longer any hold on you whatsoever. This you will come to recognize as unhampered liberty, your true self. We now have no more excuses. Whether you're a prisoner within the prison walls, learning even more destructive group thinking and behavioral habits, or a prisoner outside the prison walls to the same old merry-go-round of debt and frustration, broken relationships year after year, and giving up hope of ever seeing a change, this information will give you hope once again. It's time for you to know who you truly are meant to be. Step right on into that new life, for God, the omniscient principle, has said this too shall pass. And stop living in your karmic habit of stinking thinking living. We not only have divine permission to do so, but it is a requirement of the divine principles governing the evolution of the soul. It takes great courage and effort to just simply determine to start living from this moment forward in the way the living ethics of the Agni Yoga, a distributor of the principles, instructs. Those instructions will take the devoted student through the fire of putting to death those old ways of thinking and acting and reveal the uncompromising promise of each principle. You must make a quality choice, for here is your eternal crossroad. To not get into alignment with the principles which have been heretofore withheld from you is to live in continual frustration and repetitious results in everything that has plagued you throughout this lifetime. Rest assured, it will continue right into the next lifetime, for we begin each new lifetime experience with what we left with in the previous lifetime. That goes not only for the rebellion and ignorance against the principles, but for the spiritual growth and awareness through obedience to the principles. Every principle understood and applied will bring new life. Therefore, observe the rain of possibilities and rejoice at the rainbow. The crossroad of decisions is brought on to ourselves in the striving toward that soul perfection, which is the very purpose of our existence on this planet, however many lifetimes it may take. We are aware of those unsavory character traits needing expelled, and how can we know such victory lest we fight the battle? So we must buck up, sharpen the sword of the Spirit, and step into the fire. Be of great courage, faint not, and bring it on. This has been Lady J, and it has been a pleasure to share with you. I will continue to do so through the pen until my voice returns. Stay in touch with my corporate website, amritanicolemarketing.com, or Lady J Library on Facebook. Remember, I am still on this journey with you, called to even more responsibility since I have determined to share my findings with the world. Let us continually pray for each other. I leave you now until another season with the great invocation. Recite it often in sincerity and expect changes. The great invocation from the point of light within your mind, God, let that light stream forth into the minds of man. Let that light permeate earth and mankind. From the point of love within your heart, God, let that love stream forth into the hearts of man. Let that love, Christ, and goodwill permeate earth and mankind. From the center which we know as your will, God, let divine purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which your masters know and serve. From the center which we call the human race, let your plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light, love, and power perfect your intention for earth, God, that earth be a sacred planet, a beacon of inspiration, and a testament to your strength in all your cosmoses and universes. Silently end this prayer with 3 Ahms. And note, Om, A-U-M or O-M, is the word for God, incorporating his all as in omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Shalom, dear ones.